Welcome. Hi. How are you? Oh, your audio went out. Are you
You. There we go. I'm good.
Oh,
How are you?
good. I'm just happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too. Do you expect very many people today?
It's not going to be very many. That's from what I think this is a really busy time of year. I realized I was like, why is it less people than last year? Last year I started at the first week of October. So, but this is just the info session. So if this is kind of for people who just want to ask questions and stuff like that, but people who've already signed up like you are 100% also welcome to come and just ask any
Okay.
questions you have too. But
And I'm just happy to be here and support you and
you're
see
so
your smiling face.
You too. Oh my gosh, what's funny is I still need to listen to our episodes. Sometimes I get a little bit like those who might be listening to the replay here. I'll pause this right now.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to get started with the information session about Room to Thrive. There's just two of us here right now, but I know I promised some of you the recording, so I will be sending that off, and hopefully you're watching this later. And you can always ask me any questions. Email. My name is Cheryl Crow. I'm going to introduce myself in a second, but my email is info@myarthritislife.net, and you can ask me any additional questions you might have, or even schedule like a little one-on-one chat. I love actually talking to people over Zoom in real time. And so this is an information session about Room to Thrive, recorded in September 2023. I've made little changes along the way. So if you have attended one of the past information sessions, like in 2022, this might look a little different, but the core, the heartbeat of the program is still the same. I've just made what I think and are improvements based on feedback. But you're in the right place if you're interested in this and you have a rheumatic disease like psoriatic arthritis, or rheumatoid, or ankylosing spondylitis, and maybe are confused, overwhelmed, not really been given a lot of information, or maybe you're at information overload where you have too much information and maybe you feel like you've been left on your own. Unfortunately, that's kind of how our health system treats people in the United States, at least with chronic illnesses. So hopefully, just knowing that you're not alone, that's why I started this program, to help people navigate these diseases. Hopefully that's therapeutic on some level. But so I am Cheryl Crow. I am almost 42 years old. Next week is my birthday. And I created Room to Thrive because of the trend I saw in my personal life and professional life as an occupational therapist, of just patients not getting the support that they deserved, and not getting any basic education in how to manage the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, the everyday things that come up, from like, how do I make a ponytail in my hair when my hands hurt, to how do I even understand, is this like debilitating fatigue part of my rheumatic disease, or is it something else? So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit more today, and that's just our little agenda. So I as I mentioned, I've had rheumatoid arthritis for 19 years. Actually, now it's 20 years. And I 6 years after my diagnosis, I got my master's in occupational therapy, which is really a healthcare field focusing on those like life skills, things like, again, like all the little jobs that you have to do in your daily life, not just your job that you get paid for, but things like taking care of yourself, taking care of others, and taking care of your own really lifestyle. So things like we help advise people on things like exercise, to some degree, nutrition, definitely refer out to nutrition, specialists as well. And physical activity, sleep, mental health, all that stuff. So I kind of sometimes say occupational therapists are like if a physical therapist and a psychologist had a baby, because we are trained in both the physical aspects and the mental health. So I created Arthritis Life to basically continue doing anything I can to help empower others to live a good life and thrive with rheumatic diseases. I can't find this necklace. I always get excited when I see this picture. I'm like, where is that necklace? So I created it again. I think I already said this, but I get excited and I kind of go off track. But I created Room to Thrive so people wouldn't feel as isolated and overwhelmed trying to navigate this all on their own. And I'm going to be doing a webinar actually in a week all about stress and stress management. This is just an open, free webinar for anyone. But digging more into stress. But one of the biggest things I think that stresses people out, living with inflammatory arthritis is the unknown. No one kind of can tell you that crystal ball answer of like, will it get better? Will it get worse? Are my meds going to work? Are they not? How am I supposed to, address how this affects my social life or my job or my finances? And, you might have lack of clarity from your medical team. You might not understand all this, alphabet soup that gets thrown at you when you get diagnosed with something like rheumatoid arthritis. It's like, what's a DMARD? What's a flare-up? What's a biologic? And so there's a huge learning curve and there's a lot of conflicting information. There are some people that are like, you need to change your diet. No, you don't. You need to exercise more. You need to exercise less. You need to rest. You need to do all these things. It can be so overwhelming. And I do want to acknowledge that many people in autoimmune disease community have had medical trauma from either being misdiagnosed or not being believed. And that leaves you in a really hard place because you don't know, again, because you've been maybe mistreated by past providers, you're not sure who to trust and who to believe. And what have I not even mentioned yet? So these are all things that might lead people to feel stressed out who have these diseases. I haven't even mentioned the actual symptoms, the actual pain, the fatigue, and the non-joint symptoms. So these are things that I'm trying to help people with my program. So you're not alone. It's very common to feel like no one in your life maybe understands really what you're going through, or saying things like, it's just arthritis, my knees hurt too, just get over it. These are just a few comments when I ask people on social media, what's been really challenging for you with your condition. And you might wonder, why did I have to go out on my own and create this program? Why isn't this like part of standard? Why isn't an education and support group like Room to Thrive part of the standard of care that everyone gets? And that is my dream world. In my dream world, everyone who's diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and similar conditions would be given lots of appointments, lots of one-on-one support, lots of group supports. And there's a lot of evidence that that is the most helpful thing for people is or sorry, not the most, I don't want to compare, but that's something that people need and want. For example, a 2015 study from the European League Against Rheumatism said patients with inflammatory arthritis report that their level of knowledge about their disease is low to moderate. They did not feel they'd received sufficient information. They want to be recognized as more than their disease, to be able to use their own resources. And I really love this phrase, to re-engage in previously abandoned activities. We want these things, so no one's helping us figure out how to do that. And so that's the gap I'm trying to fill. And it, unfortunately, at least I can go on this little soapbox forever, but the United States healthcare system is really more focused on reactive care rather than proactive preventative care. So you deserve better. And that's why I created, the support programs. So I want to teach you in Room to Thrive, the evidence-based tools to manage your symptoms, cope, live the best quality of life you can, and provide a facilitated support group, which is the word facilitated is important in there because unfortunately there are a lot of like free-for-all groups out there, some of which are moderated really well, but some of them aren't. So the fact that I'm there live, like facilitating it, is super key and help you get a little less overwhelmed. So for Room to Thrive, I have a self-paced course which people take on their own. And it's a series of pre-recorded lectures where I walk you through all my best tips and tricks, and all of them are backed by evidence. I have tons of scientific articles that I've listed in the references for each of the little sections. That's called just Room to Thrive, the self-paced course, or you could do the course along with a group support program. So that's where we have these meetings over 12 meetings over 4 months where you get to connect to others with your same condition in like a small intimate group setting on Zoom. So these are people from all around the world, usually in the United States, but I always try to have a couple different time options that accommodate people on the East Coast. I mean, not East Coast, the European time zones, Asia, Australia, and other places. So this is, I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is the roadmap that I have created that is evidence-based, again, teaching you the tools to thrive in all areas of your life that are affected by your condition, not just the pain and fatigue, although those are important. So the first one is, well, that was supposed to be one earlier. So unit 1 is, there's 8 units. The first one is just intro to rheumatic disease. What is inflammation and what is health literacy? What are the differences between these kind of conditions? And unit 2 is about the tools to not only reduce pain and fatigue, but also prevent them. And then we actually spend time, especially in the live group, really problem solving in your specific life context. Like what are some ideas we can brainstorm? What's hard for you? And that's always really fun, like detective process. And then unit 3 is about the healthful habits and lifestyle factors that can help you prevent and reduce flare-ups. So things like you might have heard a ton about, already on social media: nutrition, exercise, sleep. Sleep is the forgotten lifestyle variable, but it's huge. Sleep is really connected to inflammation and pain. Unit 4 is tips for navigating relationships with rheumatic disease. So generally speaking, tips for addressing misconceptions, romantic relationships, friendships, and then family and work relationships. Unit 5 is all about our inner world, mental health, understanding different tools, and building our coping toolbox through some of the most, evidence-based tips for doing that. Plus, I always, again, in the group setting, we always share, what's working for us, and give each other ideas too. And then unit 6 is about exploring our values, hobbies, and activities, and really figuring out how can we still do the things that bring us joy while living with rheumatic disease. The reason I have this picture of someone painting is because we always seem to have like an artsy streak in a lot of the groups, whether it's, fine art, like actually physically drawing things, or maybe doing photography, or making cute stickers like I know someone in this meeting right now does. There's so many different ways people like to express themselves, or singing, other things like that. It could also be about connecting to like a higher purpose and meaning in your life, or community and giving back. There's so many ways we can still do what brings us joy. We just have to do it differently. So that's a really fun unit. I really love exploring that. And then we have unit 7 is executive functions. So the first letter of all these spells out thrive. I'm kind of like obsessed with acronyms. So that's why it's called Rheum to Thrive. It's teaching these tools to thrive. So the E is executive functions, becoming the CEO of your care team. Things like, I call this like the boring self-care or adulting tasks, like, tracking your symptoms, getting the most out of your appointments, making difficult medical decisions, and then putting it all together so you can become the CEO of your care team and just feel more empowered in that sense. And I mean, it really is a job. Unfortunately, it's an unpaid job to be a chronic illness patient. So unit 8 is pretty short. We just put it all together, review the main points of what you've learned, and then figure out how to keep thriving with rheumatic disease. So the group, I'll just stop for 1 second. The group meets over 12 weeks, or 12 times over 4 months, and we have a suggested topic of the week for the videos for you to watch. So sometimes it might be the whole unit, because there's 8 units, but 12 weeks. So other times it's like, watch the first 2 videos of this unit. And that way it'll actually keep you on track for finishing the course. And also we start the group meetings by people just asking questions or sharing their own experiences, like what's worked for them, what hasn't, what remaining questions they have. And that kind of gives us a nice structure for our live support group meetings. And then we have a free for all, where I facilitate a general support session. What else is going on? Maybe not related to the topic of, the topic of the week might be social relationships. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it has to do with, your communication to your healthcare providers or your pain toolbox. So, I do have a lot of great testimonials from the program. I do want to always hold myself to like a high ethical standard, and like I will always tell you if I think this isn't the right fit for you, or that there's a better program out there. Like the most common situation this happens in is it when someone is really, really interested in digging like super deep into one topic, like they want a lot of help on just exercise or just nutrition, Or then I would say, hey, I know so-and-so has a great program where it's like a 12-week program just on nutrition or just on exercise. This is more like the orientation course for all the things that might be affected in your life by your condition. So I just want to mention that. But, a lot of people are hesitant about joining groups. They don't really feel comfortable opening up initially, or they're just nervous about that. But, this is what Aaron said. It was a strong sense of community that's made the biggest impact, which is what I've observed across multiple groups doing this over 3 years. And at the end, she felt validated, empowered, and grateful. And, Katie said, she didn't know what to do. It was very overwhelming. And, instead of having to spend all her energy researching on her own in the internet, she enjoyed getting this crash course in the diagnosis along with the community. And I love I was so excited when she said this. She walked into a rheumatologist appointment actually confident for the first time because she felt because of the education and support from the program. So that is definitely my goal. Oh, someone else is connecting. iPhone 3. So hello, iPhone 3. Welcome. I'm just reviewing some of the logistics of the program and some testimonials. So Suzanne said, a room to thrive is just what she'd been craving. No more spinning her wheels over researching and overthinking, which is, there definitely seems to be like a trend in a lot of us with autoimmune diseases. Are sometimes we can get into overthinking mode or just overwhelm. And so, Suzanne mentioned that she appreciated that this was all, I kind of helped make sense of the breadth of information out there on your condition, along with a close community atmosphere. I mean, honestly, every single meeting, someone will say, wow, I thought I was the only one, including me. Even after having rheumatoid arthritis for 20 years, there's still times where I'm like, oh, it must just be me. I must just not be getting this. I must be slow or something. So I'm just going through, for the person who just came in, I'm just going through some little presentation slides, which it's being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later. But feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and then we'll have open Q&A at the end. So FAQs, so there is a fee for the program. And if you do just the self-paced course, this is the fee, and then this is the course plus support group fee. But that said, definitely I have, sliding scale payments or pay what you can options, including just fully free. I definitely don't ever want anyone to miss out on the group because of finances. So you can email me and I'll just send you the big spiel on like how it works. So that is totally, please don't be shy to do this. I know some people say, oh, I didn't know if I didn't know if it was okay to ask. And I definitely would rather you come and join the group if you need but rather than saying, I would love for you to join if it's hard for you to afford it. I'd rather you join with the discount rather than missing out on it. So the next groups, the 12-week support group meets 12 times over 4 months. The reason that is because I have a couple of times where I give us like a 2-week break in between meetings just to catch our breath, and also for like random, things that schedules that don't line up, or vacations. For example, I'm going to the American College of Rheumatology conference in San Diego, which takes place from like a Saturday to a Wednesday. So I'm going to miss that week, catching up on the latest research in rheumatology. So that'll be in November. But so sorry about that. So starting in the week of September 18th, in 2 weeks, there's a Monday group that meets at 7:30 Eastern, a Tuesday group that meets at 5 o'clock Eastern, and a Wednesday group that meets at 12:30 Eastern. I'm actually on the West Coast Pacific time, which is 3 hours earlier than that. So, and they're all open to people around the world. So you don't have to be in the US. I already have one person in the Philippines signed up for one of the groups, which is awesome. It is, if you are in Asian time zones, it is like the next day if it's the Monday group. That is a little bit confusing part, but I have it listed. If you need me to list out the times in your time zone, I'm happy to do that. And then there's a couple other FAQs before I move on to just the general questions that anyone who's live would like to ask. a lot of times people think, well, wait a minute, why would I want to join a support group? That's just like a place where people just complain or whine. And, certainly I will say that sometimes people need to vent, and that's totally valid. But support groups definitely differ depending on like how they're structured and who is facilitating them and how much they're facilitated. So, in Room to Thrive, we do focus on productive, practical ways to improve our quality of life. And the whole goal is to thrive. But we also, I think part of thriving is recognizing when things are just hard and allowing yourself space to process your emotions and to not just have like toxic positivity. So we have room for both. We definitely have room for people to share the difficult, upsetting things that might be happening. And, we focus on, okay, what's going to help you, continue thriving with this difficult situation. So, it's a thin line, I will say, but that's my goal, is to have space for both. And then, do you have to share? People ask, wait a minute, do I have to share my story? Do I have to talk? No, it's definitely not required. You don't even have to have your screen on. Some people just watch, some people don't even attend live. They just watch the replays, or maybe due to their schedules, they watch some of the replays, they attend live other weeks. And the meetings are recorded and they're only shared with people in the group. But sometimes people will say, well, can I speak off the record? Absolutely. I can pause the recording at any time, including today. I'm recording this info session. If you want to, ask a question or share a story without being recorded, usually this is just when people maybe have something for whatever reason. I'm happy to do that. It could be because there's a legal situation, or it could just be that you just don't want it to be recorded just in case, something happens. So, other frequent question is like, is this program the best fit for everyone? I think ethically, I mentioned earlier, I always want to be really like, I always just want to be an ethical person, right? And so there's nothing as a one size fits all, nothing is perfect for everyone. So I would say that, it's not, Room to Thrive is not a good fit for people if their primary goal is to like cure or heal the condition itself, and like say, okay, if I take this course, in this program, I'm going to be completely symptom free after 12 weeks. That is not a claim that I feel is reasonable to make. And at the same time, the program can be definitely taken in conjunction with like alternative or complementary therapies that might be, saying that that's what they're doing. There's definitely, we have people in the group that are on aggressive medications, like I have been on forever. There are also people who are trying really hard to do everything naturally, or doing like Ayurvedic medicine. It's definitely possible to take this program, regardless of how you're managing your condition. I just want to be clear that like, I'm not claiming to teach a method that's going to, cure you or heal you. Definitely, scientifically, there is no cure for rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic or any of the rheumatic diseases that I'm aware of. And I will be the first to take that cure whenever it's available. And the other reason it might not be a good fit is if you don't believe that mindset changes or daily living changes, like having tools and adaptive assisted devices, or having a pain toolbox, for example, like with BioFreeze, or, if you're at the point where you feel that no matter what you do, nothing's going to help, you're going to feel bad no matter what. In that case, it's not going to be helpful, because you have to, you have to believe that you have some control over your like destiny here. And that, I think I actually talk a lot about control, what we can control, what we can't control, and that like messy gray area in the middle. I would never claim we can control everything, but we definitely can control some things. So if you're, it's totally, again, valid. It's a stage some people go through where they're just really depressed and they just really feel like no matter what they do, nothing's going to make a difference. And that's not really a helpful state of mind to be around in like a group setting. I think that's more something where one-on-one support would be much more appropriate to help you work through that. So also, if you just don't like groups, don't go to a group. So if you prefer to receive, one-on-one support rather than a group setting, then, I'm happy to recommend like people who do provide that service as well. So how do you know if it is a good fit on the other side? So if you have a rheumatic disease like RA, psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, and this is specifically designed for all rheumatic diseases. I forgot to say earlier, it's an FAQ, like, is this just for rheumatoid arthritis? No, like I made the Rheum to Thrive acronym to specifically to like connote rheumatoid, any rheumatic disease, including rheumatoid arthritis, but also psoriatic or ankylosing spondylitis specifically. And if you want to learn to manage your condition through, lifestyle choices, coping tools, other tools in your toolbox, and you just feel alone and want to connect with others and want to learn these CEO skills so that you can feel more empowered in your healthcare experience, those are all signs that it's a good fit for you. So the last FAQ is like, where do I sign up? This is the little link to sign up. I'll put it in the chat as well. And now it's time for questions. That was really, I kind of just did a big brain dump on what Rheum to Thrive is. And I'll also send the slides, a copy of the slides, presentation slides out for people like me who actually, ironically, although I have a podcast, I prefer learning through like reading to listening. Like auditory is not my best learning style. So any questions, Jen, or the person on the phone?
I don't think I can think of anything. I feel like you covered everything really well.
Oh, goody. Okay. Trying to think of the other things that people come up with. Oh, the one thing that people might be curious about is like in the first meeting we come up, or I discussed like general, this is like general group agreements, which is just a really helpful thing to do anytime you're in a group. And that includes things like confidentiality, privacy, respect among members. And I also give the group time to like come up with any other, group norms or group agreements so that we can keep it like a safe space for everyone to feel comfortable. And I will say in the 3 years I've been doing this, there has never been like a problem. I think the only kind of awkwardness that occurred a couple of times is what I call like foot in mouth syndrome, which is something that I have, which is where someone might be just blurting something out without thinking it through, like either one way or another. Like I'm talking about someone else, like I would never do this, or like that would be crazy if you did that, like not realizing, wait, that's someone else in the group might have done that. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing that, the little things like that have happened. Fortunately, I think it's a very, I think most people find the group through like Instagram, and they kind of get a sense for my vibes and such. And so I think it ends up being kind of a very down to earth group of people who end up being attracted to it. The groups, oh, thank you, Jen. I don't know how that's not on my little list. Actually, it's on the website, but somehow I forgot to put it on the presentation. The groups are capped at 16 people. They actually tend to be more like 8 to 10 a lot of times. The later in the evening one is almost always the bigger one. So this Monday, 7:30. And there's not a time limit per person to speak, but I do have a so it's not where like each person goes around in a circle in like a predetermined order or anything. In most groups, there's usually like half the people are talking a lot, and a few others are more like either participating in the chat, which is usually pretty active, or raising their hand like one time, and that's just what people are comfortable with. Jen, yeah. Are you talking about me? How do you redirect people if they go in a strange direction or take too long? I have to stop myself from talking sometimes. No, I will say it's hard because, especially if we all can kind of get in, and when you're emotional about something or you're feeling like it's hard to get your mind off of it. So sometimes I try to be really respectful, but also like kind of like a good teacher, like try to be a little bit respectful but firm. Like, it's gonna probably, I'll say something like, it's gonna take a long time probably to process like what's going on, but today I want to make sure to give time to others who haven't had a chance to share, that kind of thing, to kind of remind them, oh yeah, okay, I have to, and or I've had to like interrupt someone if they keep saying, well, no, like there was only one or two times, but there's been people where they get a little bit into that mindset I was talking about, where it's like, again, I want to honor, like it's valid to feel like nothing's working. And if in your case, you've tried like 10 things in a row and they're not helping, it's really frustrating and really hard. But if you ask people in the group, can you give me any other ideas? And like you shoot down every single one of their ideas, they can just start feeling like, oh dear. Yeah. Oh, no worries. And you can let us know what your name is, iPhone 3, if you don't mind. You don't have to, you can totally be confidential too. No worries about joining late. And then, yeah, so right now I can go back to the slide on that. What I have is, in the support group, there are the Rheum to Thrive is the pre-recorded course. And that's like 8 topics that are covered in that, 8 large topics. Like 1 is introduction, 2 is tools for pain and fatigue. The 3rd one is helpful habits like nutrition, exercise, sleep. 4 is inner world and mental health. And so over the 12 weeks of support group, each group meeting has either the same theme. They have a theme. Long story short. Hi, Kristen. No worries. I can change your name here. So they have a theme and I can actually put that in the follow-up email. The theme goes along with the structure of the course. So, I'm going to show you my cute little graphic I had made by someone more talented than I am on Canva, or someone more talented than I am on Fiverr. So like, the first week it's unit 1, and the idea is that you'll watch, if you can, it's not school credit, right? I'm not like grading you on it, but I recommend that you would watch the videos, or whatever videos that you're interested in that I've recorded in unit 1, which is introduction to rheumatic disease and inflammation. And then that week, the way I would start the meeting is, what questions did you have from this week's videos, so people can get their big questions out. And then here's a couple of I share like 3 or 4 core bullet points. Like for those of you who didn't have time to watch it, like here's a couple of reminders, and that might spark people's memories to ask questions. And then we move on. That's about the first 20 minutes of the 60-minute meeting. And so there's 60 minutes, but we do go over if there's time. If I have time and if people still have things they want to talk about. And then the next part of the meeting is just open-ended, like literally raise your hand, raise your digital hand or your physical hand. Usually I say do the digital hand because it keeps people in order. And then if you want to share, a win from the week, a fail from the week, event, a tip, a hot tip or trick, something that you discovered that worked for you. And the other topics, just to say at a glance, for the pre-recorded videos that I've created, and there's also a PDF download, by the way, of all the slides are, so like another week, the next week, it's like tools for pain. I do separate pain from fatigue because it's too much to talk about all at once. So we do tools for pain, then tools for fatigue, the third week. 4th week is like habits, part 1, habits part 2, then we have relationships. So there is a structure, which I do find that helps, because otherwise I have to keep myself on track, to be honest, and it helps the group stay on track as well. And then no, please, any question is good. And the content is, so it's structured for the first like 20 minutes or so. And I do have a list of like kind of open-ended questions I've just found work in the cases that like people are not opening up. You had a person that came in and took up most of the time and went on a spiral. And that's, so when we talk about the group agreements in the beginning, actually, not only are the agreements, like the requirements that I say to be in this group, we have to agree to keep things private and confidential and respectful. And if you don't, like, that's grounds for being kicked out of the group. There has to be a consequence. I've never had to do it yet, but part of being respectful is not monopolizing, and part of being respectful is being understanding that if you've been taking up, if there's 3 people whose hands are raised and you're still talking and there's 10 minutes left in the day, then I need to move on to, the next person. And I will also, like, keep track in my head because my memory is not the best, but within 60 minutes, I can usually remember, okay, if Jen's already talked twice and she has her hand up and she's technically in line before like Kristen, but Kristen hasn't talked yet, then yeah. But no, I mean, believe me, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm not saying I'm perfect with this, but yeah. I'm glad, Kristen, that sounds good to you. Yeah. I think one of the kind of difficulties I have in talking about all this sometimes is that it's like, my goal is to help people become less overwhelmed, and more empowered. But when I show them that chart, like half the people are like, whoa, there's a roadmap. Like this is helpful and it's colorful. And the other half of the people are like, that's too long. Like it's too many things. So I'm glad that what I was saying, I think, and the little roadmap were helpful.
I think
Um,
it's fabulous, and I wish I would have had you 11 years ago.
Oh, thank you. And that is probably one of and that's so some people ask, I was gonna say that's one of the most common comments I get. And people ask, well, can I still take this? I've had RA or psoriatic arthritis for 5 years or 2 years or 15 years. And this is gonna sound unintuitive, but like the strongest testimonials I've gotten are the people who've had the disease longer. And I think it's because they went through the pain of trying to figure it out on their own. And so, I mean, I wish I had this too 20 years ago. I did it. Yeah. And I don't have all the answers. I don't ever claim to, but I've tried to help go through all the mess of all the information and clarify it and put it into an easily digestible.
Well, and I think it's beneficial to have some people in the group that have been dealing with this for a long time, because
Mhm.
hopefully that means there's several of us that can help support people through the new scary stuff.
Yeah, that's been a really beautiful thing in the group. People also will ask, well, is there an age limit or is it just for younger people or older people? And I'm like, it's been really honestly, when I first started it, I was just taking whoever was interested, right? I wasn't like I didn't even know if people were going to want this. Or I knew that they would want it, but I didn't know if they would actually sign up for it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, we had people in their 70s, people in their 20s. I do take people who are adults. I don't take anyone under 18 just because that is a whole other kind of yeah, that's a whole other thing. So it's been really amazing having like multiple generations in the groups and multiple lengths of diagnoses, because sometimes the newly diagnosed people, they'll hear something that's like the most up to date, right? They'll be like, well, my rheumatologist actually said like, for many years they thought X, but now it's Y. And I try to catch those things. I updated the whole course in 2023 in May or March earlier this year. But I can't catch every possible thing. So especially with COVID, there's been so many things to take the booster. No, wait till the next booster. There's just so sometimes the newly diagnosed have a new tip. But yeah, the newly diagnosed people love seeing the people like us who've had it longer, because they're like, you figured something out because you're still here.
Exactly.
I almost saying like what's that British funny TV or funny show where they're like, I'm not dead yet. I'm not
Yes, yes, exactly.
sorry, a random sense of humor. But I know, Kristen, you said you're commuting, so totally understand if you don't have anything else. But if there's any other questions from either of you, I'm happy to answer, or to the people listening on the replay. Again, you can email me at the info at My Arthritis Life. And you do have what I say is that, or what I do is that the groups are open for registration. This current group is a cohort, so you go together with everyone in your group through the program. There's not like continuously new people being added. But there's sometimes it's like a straggler the second week. I will say, somebody who's like, oh, I forgot to sign up, and can I join the second week? Yeah, of course, yeah. But I don't have it's not like a membership where everyone's constantly coming in and out. But it's registration's open through September 17th or whenever the groups fill up. And this time I'll just be 100% honest that the groups they're not super full yet. So that's a good thing, in that we're not going to have like, too many people, but it's also, it's capped at 16. Usually we end up having like anywhere from 8 to 12. There's been a couple of times in the past where it's just gotten really popular this right time of year or something, where like I'll get a lot of people. But oh yes, and this is the link for the program. And Kristen, because you weren't here earlier, I did say this is in the FAQs too, but I do, it is a paid program, but I do offer, scholarships or pay what you can options or financial assistance. This is so if you're sharing it with others, yeah, this is my little spiel on that. So it's definitely, I'm very, lucky that I'm able to I can structure it that way because I don't want people to miss out on it. And yeah, you were actually diagnosed a few weeks ago. I've noticed that the last couple groups we've had some people like you that were, if I'm not going to be presumptuous, but if you join, there's always a couple who are like, I just got diagnosed. And yeah, it is super helpful to have it. I had someone recently who she she was in the group like 2 years ago, and one the nice thing is that if you catch your disease early, you have the best likelihood of long-term like remission. So she already was like, wow, she was in there's an alumni group. So after a lot of people are like, wait, I want support for like more than 12 weeks. I want to keep meeting. I have an alumni group that is $37 a month, or just whatever, pay what you can or free if you need. And we meet once a week on either Thursdays or Fridays, and I kind of alternating between Thursdays and Fridays, and that's a great group as well. And there's some, she just decided to leave the group after 2 years because she was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I've been in remission now for like over a year, and so I'm busy and I feel like I got everything out of the group I needed, and that's like an amazing outcome too. So yeah, if you can figure out childcare. Oh, yes, and I don't know how many kids you have, but it's totally like, I know you would probably as a mom, Jen and I are both moms too, so you probably don't want like your kids in ideally and at the same time. But I will say people have definitely had, kids running in and out of the room, dogs, cats, it's not super formal. It's chill, but I understand that like you're probably thinking about like you just literally like would like to be able to pay attention to the group maybe, and not have to simultaneously take care of children, especially if they're really young. But yeah, so hopefully it'll work out. I do have the 3 different times. There's like the Mondays. Kristen, I don't know if you let us know what time zone you're in. I'm sorry if you already said this, but there's Mondays at 7:30 Eastern, or Tuesdays at 5 Eastern, or Wednesdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So I try to do like those 3 different times are kind of the ones that 7:30 is, sorry, p.m. Mondays is 7:30. I just do an opposite order of time. So so Monday evening, yeah. So sometimes that works. Yeah, Mondays is usually, if any of the groups is going to get on the fuller side, it's the Monday. It would be the 7:30 Eastern one, just because there's a lot of people who they prefer the later time, or they get the earlier times work for people who might have a more like, or who get out of work before 5 p.m. or have like a lunch break where they can do the group then, or who have like a flexible work schedule. So yay. All right. Well, anything else? Happy to end early too. That's totally, or not early. I put this an hour for this in case, but
All looks great. I'm actually sending out the link right now to 2 people that were sent to me right before my move last year.
oh, okay.
And I think I invited them to the Facebook group that we're all in.
Ooh, okay.
I'm looking them up now and sending them the link to this.
Awesome. And I'll also I'll put this link in the chat. I don't know if this is like too many links that like might confuse people, but I'm doing a free like 3 ways to manage stress webinar on next Monday, the 11th at 4:30 p.m. Oh, sorry, I'll say 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So it's actually technically EDT right now, Eastern Daylight Time. I keep saying EST because it's Eastern Standard Time. And that's a good chance. So people who are like, I don't know if I want to commit to this, like who's this Cheryl girl or whatever, it could give them kind of an intro to me and my vibes, for like a better word, and also like my frame of reference that I use, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. I do draw from like lots of different approaches, but that's the one that has been by far the most helpful in my journey to acceptance and thriving, with rheumatic disease. So that kind of is it is a very evidence-based, program. I'm going to also, Jen, you should here. I'm going to put the link to our podcast episode. we should plug that because Jen's already joined one of the groups, but she's also has a cool podcast where she interviewed me. I'll put that in here too. Yay. Which is fun. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you both so much. I'll send out a link to the replay. But I'm looking forward to seeing whoever can make it, whoever who's listening right now to the replay, or, Kristen, I hope you can get the childcare sorted, as they say in England. And Jen, I'm excited that you're joining too. So I'll say
Thank you so
bye-bye for
much.
now. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next
Bye.
week.
You too. Have a wonderful evening
Good
too,
night,
Kristen.
you
Yes.
both.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.